Hey everybody, had some technical difficulties today with the computer, but I'm going to try to film this prior, and then we'll upload it and you can tag along as needed. But I'm Buzz. I'll be taking us through a little bit of a recovery and stretch class for today. So what we're going to need is a chair if you can't get it all the way bent over, or a towel once we go down to the mat. So to start, we're going to take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Deep breath in, deep breath out, and we're just going to kind of relax, let our heart rate come down, settle, take our break from the day. Then on our next deep breath in, I want our arms to come up. And then when we exhale, bend at the waist, reach for those toes, and just let those hands hang down, dangling down by those toes. Another deep breath in, stand tall, arms come up. Exhale, bend back down, reach for those toes. One more time, deep breath in, stand tall, reach, reach, reach. Exhale, bend back down for those toes. This time I want you to widen that stance to about shoulder width and let your hands kind of dangle in between those feet, either reaching for a knee or a shin, maybe an ankle, or you're all the way down to the floor. But we're going to hold it here for a bit. As you'll see throughout the rest of this class, I'm going to try to be as quiet as I can, give a few cues, but I really want us to sink into these stretches, really try to focus on that deep stretch of whatever muscle group we're focusing on, and just relax. Good. Stand up nice and slow. I want you to take that right foot, put it over your left, and we got a nice long stretch here. In 3, 2, 1, bend, reach down for those toes. Feel a pull up the left leg, specifically the calf and hamstring. Just hold it here. Good. Stand up nice and slow. We're going to switch sides now. Go over to the other leg. Right foot or left goes over right. Deep breath. Exhale, bend and reach. Feel that stretch up the right leg this time. Each breath you take in, I want you to exhale and sink down deeper into the stretch, reaching closer to that floor. Good. Stand up nice and slow. Spread those feet back apart, feet shoulder width. One more time, deep breath in, reach up. Exhale, reach back down in between. Hold it here, and you should notice that you're starting to get closer to that floor. That means our hamstrings are starting to loosen up, our lower back starting to loosen up. You can bend the left and right knees, kind of rock from side to side, nice and slow, or you can just hold it there in the middle, 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, good. Stand up nice and slow. Now speaking of those hamstrings, we're going to go after them. So you should have that chair in front of you, slide it across. We're going to take our right foot, put it up on top of that chair, and all we're going to do is bend at the waist, reach down for that foot. And as soon as we start to feel a pull on that hamstring, that's where we're going to stop and hold it. Each stretch today is going to be held for around 30 seconds. You can obviously hold it for longer if you'd like. We want to hit at least 30 when we stretch and no more than 60. Remember, each breath in, as we exhale, we sink down deeper, feeling those muscles loosening up. Bringing our chest down towards our knee. 3, 2, 1. Good. Up nice and slow. Take that foot off. Reset. Left foot up on top of the chair. Same thing. Bend down nice and slow. Reaching for that foot, ankle. Feeling a nice stretch in our left hamstring. And just breathing. Three, 2, 1. Very good. Take it off nice and easy. Reset, catch your breath. The reason I like using the chair is so that way we're not all the way bent over, but we still get a nice deep stretch in the hamstring. And we can transition to our next stretch, which is the opposite side of the leg, and we're going to go after those quads. So what I want us to do is use that chair to keep our balance. We're going to bend our left knee, reach down, grab our right ankle or foot, pull it up, and feel a stretch in that quad. Now, if you can't get all the way down there, that's why we have this handy-dandy towel. You're going to set your foot in that towel, pull it up on the backside, try to pull our heel towards our backside, feeling a nice stretch in our hamstring. I'm going to use my foot. You can use a towel or whatever you need, but the focus here is to try to keep our knees straight down, pulling our heel towards our backside. And if that's not enough, you can slowly start to lean forward, feeling a stretch in that quad. Slowly release. And we're going to switch over to the other side. Same thing, bend that right knee, reach down, grab the left foot or ankle, pull that heel in. Ooh, I'm a little tight. Feel that stretch. Knee straight down. And lean into it as necessary. Good. Slowly release. You can slide that chair over. We're going to go feet shoulder width apart again. And then one more time. This is kind of our measuring tool to see how loose we're getting. Take a deep breath in. Reach tall. Exhale. Bend back down. Reaching for those toes. Very good. Now before we go down to the mat, I want us to go a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. We're going to bend our knees, squat down, and get as low as we can. Use the chair if you need to for balance. We want to drop those hips down towards the floor, feeling a nice stretch in our hips, our groin, our low back. You can angle those toes out, angle those knees out. You can get your arms in between your knees. You can push out on the inside of those knees. Really feel a nice stretch deep in your groin. Good. Then I want you to slowly fall back onto your backside, and we're going to start stretching from the floor. These are some of my favorite stretches because now we're taking the balance out of it and can really focus on getting deep into the stretch. So we're going to go back to those hamstrings, pulling our right foot in, sticking our left foot out. We're going to try to think about taking that right knee down towards the floor as we reach with our left hand towards our left foot. Here we go. If you can grab a toe, great. If not, grab your ankle, maybe a shin, but we're trying to pull our chest down towards that leg, feeling a nice stretch here. If you can't even get close to an ankle or shin, again, that's where that towel comes in handy. Put it around the ball of your foot and try to pull yourself closer. Good. Straighten out that right leg and bring our left foot on the inside of our right. Left knee goes down towards the floor. Right hand reaches for those right toes. Good. Now let's stick that left foot back out so we got both legs nice and straight. And let's reach for those toes. Trying to grab an ankle or a shin. Trying to pull our chest down towards our knees like we're folding ourselves in half like a lawn chair. And just breathe. Three, two, one. Good. Sit up nice and straight. Pull those feet in now. So we're bringing the bottoms of our feet together. And we're going to do a butterfly stretch. So our focus here is trying to pull our heels in as close as we can to our groin while taking the outside of our knees and push them straight down to the ground. The straighter and the closer to the ground you can get those knees, the more you're going to feel that stretch on the inside of your thighs. We're going to hold it here for a little bit. Ten seconds. Good. And now before you release, I want you to slide those feet forward still together. So now they're not as close to your inside. And what we're going to do is lean forward, reaching for those feet. And we're going to feel a little stretch in our groin, but now we should start to feel in our low back. And now is when we start to transition a little bit to our upper body. So lean forward, pulling ourselves down in half like a lawn chair. Ten seconds. And sit up nice and slow. Good. Now I want you to pivot around so that we're sitting with our heels together, toes together, angle our knees out, and we're going to push our hips back on top of those heels into a yoga child's pose. Now when I get into this pose, I like to think about two things. One, pushing my hips back on top of my heels so I feel a stretch in my hips and back. But then also with my hands and forearms, I'm pushing down through the floor like I'm trying to touch the basement. And I feel a nice stretch in my lats, my shoulders, and my upper back. We're going to hold it here. Good. Now we're going to take our right arm, slide it underneath our left armpit, palm to the ceiling. And we're going to take the back of that arm and push it down through the floor. This should be a nice stretch on the outside of your right shoulder. Good. Now let's switch to that other side. Left arm comes underneath the right armpit, palm to the ceiling. Taking the back of that hand, pushing down through the floor. And release. Both hands back to the middle. Push ourselves back one time. Take a big stretch. And then now, keeping those hands where they're at, I want you just to push your hips forward and then let them drop down to the floor so that the tops of our feet, tops of our thighs, our hips are the only thing touching the ground, and we're holding ourselves up, letting our shoulder blades become nice and loose. I'm going to turn to the side quickly so you can see what I'm talking about. Dropping those hips. Feeling a nice stretch in our lower to upper back. If you need to lower yourself down to reset, that's okay. Just take a deep breath in, exhale, and press yourself back up. We want to think about our hips getting nice and heavy, dropping down to the floor, while our shoulders get nice and loose so we can press ourselves up a little bit taller. Good. Push those hips back. Big stretch here. All right. So now we're going to try to stretch out the chest. This is a little bit difficult, but there's a couple ways we can try it. We're going to switch back to the chair, and we're going to stay on our knees. Now the chair is going to help us because it's going to give us a fixed point. Towel can be used for comfort. But what I want you to do is come up next to that chair, put your arm across, and just slowly lean forward down towards the floor so that the only part is your elbow, forearm, hand on the chair, and your bicep and shoulder are off. Keeping our chest up, head up, but letting our body drop to the floor, and you should feel a nice stretch across your shoulder and your chest on your right side. Good. Switch sides. Move the chair if necessary. Left arm goes across up to the elbow. Drop the upper body down, head and chest up. Feeling a nice stretch in our chest and our shoulder. Very good. And release. Okay, now we're going to switch back to the lower body, and we're going to use that towel. So I want us to lay down on our backside. Quick sip of water if you need it. Anytime we're stretching, even though we're not sweating or working too hard, we want to make sure we're hydrated so that our muscles stay nice and loose and nice and pliable so that we can stretch them a little bit more and help them recover faster. But we're going to take that towel or strap, put it around the ball of our right foot, keep our left leg straight, and we're just going to fall backwards, pulling that leg, keeping that right knee locked, left foot on the floor, and pull back until you feel tension in your hamstring. Once you feel that tension, I want you to stop for a little bit, hold it. And then as it starts to loosen up, continue to pull back further. Again, keeping that leg straight. We don't want to bend our knee. We want to lock that foot, lock that knee, and just pull back. Good. And one of my favorite transitions with this stretch is we hold it here for a little bit longer, and then we're going to take it right into a hip stretch by letting it drop down towards our left side, holding the towel in our left hand, trying to keep our right shoulder down on the floor, feeling that stretch across our right hip. We want to try to keep our upper body straight, our lower body locked, and we're just stretching that hip. So if you need to drop that foot down closer to your left, that's okay, but slowly practice pulling it up taller and taller. What we're mimicking here is the hands of a clock. So right now, I'd say my legs are probably at, I don't know, 5:30, if you want to call it that. What we want to try to pull them up to is like 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, depending on what side of the clock you want to look at. But we want to try to get those legs perpendicular to feel that stretch. Good. Now we're going to sit up nice and slow and switch sides. Towel goes around the left foot, lock the right leg, lock the left leg, fall back nice and slow, stable, start to pull up. One of the things you may have noticed throughout this, or you will soon enough, is that one side is usually tighter than the other. And that's just whichever side we tend to dominate. Sometimes it's the same side as that we're handed. So if you're right-handed, sometimes it's your right side. If you're left-handed, sometimes it's your left side. Sometimes it's opposite. Remember, once you feel it start to loosen up a little bit, try to pull it a little bit further. And then we're going to transition into that hip stretch, letting it fall down towards our right side, keeping that left shoulder on the mat. Right leg is straight, left leg is straight. Feel a nice stretch in our left hip. Good, and release, back to the middle. Now while we have the towel, we're going to put both feet in it. Lock those legs, pull them both up towards us, and what I want you to try to do is pull it just so that your hips get off the mat a little bit, rounding that low back. You should feel a nice stretch here in your hamstrings, your calves, and our low back just a little bit to stretch everything out before we bend those knees. And you can either use the towel or use your hands to pull those knees in towards your chest. Nice and easy. Feel a little stretch here. Good. Now we got a couple more before I let you go. This one's a little bit more advanced, but I think we can handle it. We're going to use that towel again. And since we just stretched those hamstrings nice and good, we got to stretch our quads out the same. So I want you to flip over onto your stomach. We're going to lay flat. And using that towel, I want you to wrap it around your right foot. So once you get it wrapped around that right foot, you're going to reach back with both hands and you're going to pull that foot towards your backside. Once you get it there, you should feel a nice stretch in your quads. Again, we're pulling that right foot back towards our butt side, or our back side rather. Feeling a nice stretch. If you don't quite feel it by grabbing your shin here, you can slide it up a little taller, getting it to your foot, and once you have it on your foot, you should really feel it. I'm going to switch to the other side now. We're going to reach over, tie it around our left foot, flip it around, and pull. That was a little smoother. All right, slowly release. Now I got two more I want to show you. Just because it's one of the tighter muscle groups on the body that I notice in many of my clients, myself included. We're going to reach back for that chair. And we're going to stretch our hips. Now my favorite hip stretch is a classic. All you're going to do is sit down in said chair, bring our right foot across our left knee, take our hands, and we're going to press down, or you're going to use our forearm on the inside of that right knee, feeling a nice stretch in our hips. Now, you may have noticed in some of our other videos, we've done this in a seated position on the floor, but I like a good old-fashioned sit in a chair, lean forward, pressing down on that knee. That's where you're really going to feel a stretch in your hips, pushing down on that knee. Because we do all this sitting, whether we're driving our cars around, sitting at the office, sitting at home. All this sitting causes our hips to really tighten up. So we got to spend just as much time, or at least some time, stretching those hips out. Good. Now we're going to switch over to the other side, left foot over right. Same thing, press down on the inside of that left knee now. Trying to take the outside of that knee down towards the floor. Feeling a nice stretch. Good. Slowly release. And we're going to stand up nice and slow. And just like before, we're going to finish just as we started. Take a deep breath in. Reach tall, high to the sky. Arch that low back. Exhale, bend back down. Reaching for those toes or in between. and really taking notice of how loose everything feels, how much further our hands can get down to the floor. And then stand up nice and slow, stacking that spine. So that's our stretch and recovery day. Thanks for joining me and fighting through these technical difficulties. Hopefully you enjoyed. We're going to be doing this every Friday. I promise it'll be better next time when we go live. If you have any questions or have any areas of the body you want us to focus on, feel free to email us at virtualwellness@trihealth.com. Other than that, have a good weekend.